And we're live. All right.
Yeah, I was gonna say thank you for joining us. I know I asked you, and you said you're gonna be in Europe, so I was like, oh, that sounds busy, but I'm glad it worked out. It's kind of even cooler that you're in Europe for this because it goes with the whole the lifestyle that we're all trying to live, right?
Yeah, thank you. Also, I love how when we start recording, it says on my screen, it says, it's actually recording in higher quality, don't worry. I feel like that's like the Riverside version of like, I have a girlfriend, she just goes to another school, that's why you don't know her, you know what I mean? But,
Yeah.
yeah, thank you for having me on. Yeah, it's cool to, over here it's like at nighttime, so I think it's kind of cool that you guys are like in the middle of the day. But yeah, thank you for having me on, I really appreciate it.
Yeah, man. Well, thanks for hopping on with us. I mean, basically, I'm not sure how much Kelsey gave you the rundown here, but what we're trying to do is essentially talk to people who have different businesses, talk a little bit about their business model specifically, how they got it started, how they run it and all that. So, that's probably where we're gonna start with. So, we did some recon on you, so I've got an idea of what you do. But in your words, I'd like to hear in your words, what is it that you do for business?
Yeah, for sure. So essentially what I do is I build out funnels for online fitness trainers. I find that there's a lot of people trying to help fitness trainers who specialize in like business side of things. So they give everybody a little bit of everything, a little bit of marketing, a little bit of, outreach, a little bit of, bookkeeping, a little bit of, it's all kind of like basic admin stuff. Or it's specific to like ads or something like that. But I find that there's not many people who specialize in building out entire funnels for fitness trainers. I've been working for one fitness trainer now for just over a year. I was working with him at another agency, and I was doing so well, I decided to just niche down, and then when that agency fired me, he left to work with me, and I realized I had other testimonials working with other online trainers, and yeah, I decided to build it out that way. I think that I love doing content, I love doing emails, and I love doing lead magnets, so I decided to just kind of put it all together, and I feel like it's, a place where fitness trainers or online trainers can go to create the top, middle, and bottom of their funnel and actually find clients who want, or find followers who will become clients instead of just spinning their tires and watching people work out online. You know what I mean?
All right. So you're doing more of like a full kind of shop, like done for you almost service, where you're going in, you're building out the front end, the middle, the upsells, all that kind of stuff. And then you're helping them with content as well?
Yeah, so the main thing that people know me for is content, because that was what I did with, shout out to my guy Corey Armstrong who I work with. That's the main thing that I did with him at the beginning. We were doing content together, and just through content I was able to help him double his revenue in, I believe, 3 months. Within 9 months we got him from 10K to 50K organically, and then I started building out the rest of his funnel for him. I created a lead magnet for him that actually is, with emails involved, that's booked as of 2 or 3 weeks ago, 126 calls for him, and the lead magnet actually booked like 75 of them automatically. So I found that it's something that's very valuable, that is very differentiated, that I don't see a lot of people have, and I think that the more value that I can provide to people, the more valuable I become. And you guys know this, obviously, running a business and marketing is so fluid and changes all the time. Like, yes, one bit of marketing is great, but if you only work on one of them, I think you kind of become stale and you kind of limit the help that you can bring to people, which isn't a problem, right? Like, if you want to specialize with one thing, that's fine. But let's say you want to run ads, but if you don't have any organic content, running ads and converting ads is going to be hard. If you don't have your niche dialed in, running ads is going to be hard. Let's say you want to do organic, but if you're running organic consistently and you need a bit more leads, well, you want to run ads to that, right? So I think that building out like an actual funnel so that people can go from A to C without you having to constantly DM them or constantly hound them, they just are attracted to what you do, I think is very valuable for a lot of online trainers. Because again, the biggest problem I see with trainers online is their whole thing is, like, a lot of them fell into online training. They're either doing some other job and they realize, I can get paid to help people look good like me, like I want to do that. So they think, like, why don't I just post me looking good, because that's what people want. And they kind of forget that you should prioritize the other people instead of yourself. And most people don't know this, especially trainers. And so they kind of get stuck in this loop of people like looking at my content, they like watching me work out, they respect what I do, but getting them over the finish line is hard. And so I get them over the finish line, essentially.
Gotcha. Okay, so I feel like I kind of explained to you, a big part of what we're doing is we're trying to break down these business models for people who are like, I don't know what that means. So if you were to kind of re-explain what you do, and like you said, you build full funnels for fitness trainers. So how would you explain that to somebody that has no idea what a funnel is, basically?
Sure. So the 8-year-old pitch. I take followers and turn them into clients. So when people follow your page, they eventually will pay you. That's the 8-year-old full pitch. The content pitch is, instead of so there's the content, the lead magnet, and the emails, right? Like that's the top, middle, and bottom. The top is 8-year-old pitch. Find a way to make yourself interesting. Get people to binge watch your content. So I always tell people, you want people to go to your page and just like keep scrolling to like, oh, this is good. Oh, this is good. Oh, this is good. Oh, like they're heavily invested, right? So they stay on your page. They're interested. They keep watching. The middle content, or the middle funnel, 8-year-old pitch is you give them something for free. They're more interested in working for you. And then the bottom of the funnel, 8-year-old pitch is you tell them what you do, they buy. That's the simplest, bare bones breaking down. A funnel is essentially a system that takes people from point A to point B, follower to client. And the best thing about what I do is it's automated for the fitness trainers, right? Like whether it's me and my team doing content for them or building out that asset, which takes a little bit of explaining, and I know it's a bit of a pain in the ass, which I'll get to. If a fitness trainer fell asleep for 5 days, whatever reason, I don't know, let's say they went to fucking Vegas and just went ape shit crazy and got super hammered, their stuff still runs for them. They don't have to, now we don't do like DM setting or anything like that, but the thing remains, we have systems in place that get people into the lead magnet to get them to the bottom of the funnel. So a lot of it is, trainers don't really like doing marketing. They don't want to figure that stuff out. They want to find somebody who understands the industry and understands marketing, and that's where we bridge the gap, right? We can take you out of this part, find you clients who are qualified, and yeah, you can focus on training people and building your business.
Nice.
Very
So
nice.
you said like a team. So like, is it like, so it's not just you running this? You're not building everything yourself. Like, what kind of, what does your team look like? I guess on the fulfillment side.
Yeah, so I have 3 people on my team. Myself, my friend who does the video editing, and I believe he has other video editors under him, but I don't talk to them. He's like the guy I talk to.
Right.
And then my brother does the copywriting for the content side of things. So, yeah,
Nice.
that's our team.
Okay, got a little squad going.
Good old nepotism.
Yeah, it's great. Oh,
love
nepotism is the best when it works for you. I will admit.
No, absolutely. Nice. Okay. So like, when you started out, like, were you doing it all yourself, or did you kind of get them all on the same page and then start getting clients coming in?
Yeah, so I started, I was, like I mentioned earlier, I was fired from my old job, and it was kind of weird because my boss was like, yeah, you can just leave. I was like, oh, you don't need me to, like, offboard anybody or do any work? He's like, no. I was like, oh, okay. And he just didn't tell anybody I got fired for like 4 days. Like, I told my team and like my clients. They were like, what? I'm like, yeah, he didn't tell you? They're like, no. I was like, oh, okay. So a lot of them left with me, and like I can say that because I didn't have a contract, so you can't sue me at all. So what are you gonna do? We literally just had like this handshake deal. I was getting paid like a drug dealer. Anyways, moving past that. So I had quite a bit of clients come with me from that excursion, and referrals kept pouring, not like a crazy amount, but I got referrals because the job was good. We were good at what we did, and I didn't have any video editors on my team to help create the content, because that's part of the package. It's part of the reason why we help charge a premium, is because you don't have to edit anything. It's not me just like running around like a chicken with my head cut off trying to keep all the profits. I had a team of editors that I liked, and they were solid, but the language barrier was a bit tough because they were in Egypt, and also they had pretty strict boundaries with the scope of work that they wanted to do. So they said, we don't work on weekends. I was like, that's fine. I'm not hating on that, but I need somebody who, like, if the language barrier is going to be a point of friction, I kind of need a bit more flexibility. So luckily my friend was looking for work, and I funnel him clients now, and he's edited for like Ryan Pineza and Hormozy, so it works out perfectly, very high quality. And yeah, so there's a lot of trust with him and I, and obviously there's a lot of trust with my brother and I. So we're very small, but we work together well, and That's kind of how things work. If I answered your question, I don't think I answered your question at all. If I'm being honest with you.
What was the agreement with the other agency? Like, were they just like, hey man, I got some people. If you could just handle that for me, that'd be great. And then they just left. Like,
okay. So I've been fired from 2 agencies. I think God's just like stopped working for other people. But I was a referral from an old client from that agency to this guy. And they were like, okay, like we could always use more content creators on our team, and somebody just quit. So he just kept funneling me clients and kind of work because they're in America. I think he was underpaying me, and because I was fairly new and I was getting American money, I was like, oh, sweet. And so we accidentally got to the point where I was too valuable to the team. Like I had all the main clients that paid us lots of money, and I didn't have a contract, so we're just kind of like holding a gun to each other's head, like. If you fuck me over, I have all the good clients, and if you fuck me over, then you don't have a contract, kind of thing. And so there's no bad blood between them, but I was let go abruptly, and so.
Why would they fire you?
The reasons I was given was they wanted to promote me to CMO, which was great, but the offer that came in was the exact same wage that I was already getting. So I was like, that's not a promotion.
That was one of those agency owners, hey? Just like, I'm gonna keep the profits as low as possible.
Yeah, I was like, that's a demotion. That's not a, like, I have to, don't get me wrong, I want to move to Florida, but he's like, you gotta move to Orlando, and like, now you're an employee instead of a contractor, so I can't write anything off, and like, I don't know if you guys know this, but moving to America is very, very difficult. So like, there's a ton of paperwork and a ton of headaches, and so I essentially came clean to him that like I had clients on the side because I'm a very aggressive person, and because I had no contract in place, I was like, look, man, if I don't feel like you guys are giving me enough, I'm going to go get my own. He says, okay, well, you have to drop them or bring them on board to the agency. I was like, okay, but like I'm not getting paid more, so why would I do either of those things? And then he was just kind of like, okay, well, bye. And I was like, oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, probably for the best.
Wow, it sounds erratic. That sounds so erratic, like just like not very strategic. Wow.
Yeah, it was an interesting time.
Okay.
It's very interesting that when you get into business, especially like entrepreneurship, and you start kind of doing business deals with people, you kind of just like have to develop a thick skin to that stuff, in knowing that like some people are just going to kind of screw you over, and maybe they don't see it like that, but that's something that I've learned, is that like people are in it for their best benefit, so sometimes they will just cut ties, and you're like, all right, well, it's just business, I guess.
Yeah, no, exactly. And I think that's a perfect way of describing, because it's like, would I have handled that situation better than him? I don't know. In my head, it's always easy to be like, I totally wouldn't have done that, but you never know what people are going through. You never know what kind of pressure people are getting. You never know what the internal side of things are like. I'm not going to go into full detail on this because I think it's TMI, but the internal structure was a bit hectic beyond what I was exposed to, and I'd kind of get little snippets, and I'm like, that's weird. That's not supposed to be like that. And I think ultimately, at the end of the day, we're human beings. We're tribal creatures, and like, I was from Canada. I was kind of like a referral from somebody else. I wasn't like one of their guys brought in. I was on a handshake deal. I had already kind of shown a lack of willingness to fall in place. I was the easy one to go. Like, I get it. Like, when he gave me that offer, as soon as I heard the number, I was like, my time is limited here, for sure.
Yeah.
So I totally understand, right? Like, I'm not going to, blame them for wanting to get rid of me. I just think that it wasn't handled the best way. But that being said, I think it ended up like working out for me in the long run. And so from a selfish standpoint, I'm kind of happy that happened. Is what it is, I guess.
So what's the money like from before you started, like when you're just doing agency work side, versus like what you guys are charging now for your kind of more full stack services?
Yeah, so it's funny because I kind of priced what I did at, well, what is the agency before me doing? Let me just go a little bit lower than that, and like it'll be a steal. And I kind of realized that that's the wrong way of looking at it. And this is kind of why, like, if you ask me about why people should niche down, I will literally take 5 hours of your day, like just going ape shit about why niching down is important. Part of why that is, and part of why I've kind of positioned myself in the way that I have, is because you're supposed to charge based on the value you bring. And I think the specific value that we bring to our specific clients is such that we can charge a premium, right? So we charge full transparency anywhere between, depending on the package and what we're selling, $2,500 to upwards of $7,000 for a specific service. And at first glance, some people might go, oh, that's a lot of bread. And depending on, what your scope is, what you're comparing it to, sure, I guess it is, right? But part of it is, if you want to go out and find somebody else who does exactly what we do in the specific niche that we do and provides a specific value, be my guest, go find them. And that's the benefit of positioning yourself, right? I think if I had to not critique, but just look at how I do work with my agency compared to agencies I've worked for in the past, I feel very blessed because I have the benefit of looking back and be like, okay, well, what did the two that I worked with do? What did I like? What did I not like? What do I feel held them back? What do I feel like helped them move forward? And I get to kind of play off that. I think the biggest thing that both agencies before I started my own did that hindered their growth was they didn't niche down. They didn't have a niche, right? Like the second agency I was working at, there was a point in time where I was like the video editor, copywriter, content creator, scheduler, every graphic designer, literally everything for multiple clients. And that included like a real estate investor, an e-com store owner, a sex toy company, a basketball trainer, a lube company. I'm like, why are there so many sex toy companies? Where are they coming from? Why do they need together? Yeah, exactly. Are they hiring internally? Do they give discounts?
Should have affiliated for each other.
Yeah, exactly. I used to do stand up and I used to have jokes about running the sex toy company's content. It was fantastic. But anyway, so I looked at that and it was like I was wasting so much brain power going from, okay, well, how do you flip houses to like, how do I not get this account taken down from posting too crude content? You know what I mean? Like, yeah. And I think that because again, like now it's just kind of a service, like it's social media management, and so many people can do that. And I think a lot of people who are in the market look at that and they go, well, like social media, my nephew's 18, I'm sure he can figure it out, instead of it being like, this is a premium service that we serve a specific person for, and we get you a specific result based on our industry knowledge and based on our expertise, right? Like they're two very completely different things. If I present you an offer stack and say, hey guys, for this podcast that you run, I'll help you get to 1,000 listens a month. I don't know what you guys are at, I don't know. Maybe that's good, maybe that's bad, but I'll help you get booked on all their podcast appearances yourself. I'm a specific podcast agency that helps podcasters get booked, increase their revenue, increase their advertising and their views. You would be much more, and if they said like, oh, I charge $4,000 for that, you wouldn't be like, that's crazy. You'd be like, fuck, I see the value. And if I don't have the money, like that's one thing, but I see the value in what you bring because you work with a specific people and you can do exactly what I need. Instead of some guy just being like, yeah, I'm a marketing agency, it's $5K. You'd be like, get the fuck out of here. Like, what are you talking about? Who are you fucking kidding?
What does that even mean?
Yeah. A marketing agency. What do you do? So
yeah.
And we had like personal experience with basically like one of our family members like ran like a soap company, and then they had brought on basically a marketing agency who I think they did cars or something like that, like car shows or something like that.
Yeah.
And then they were marketing their product, and they just would run ads for them, and they would just take pictures of the soap and then just post them as ads, and we're like, there we go. And it was like, yo, what are the analytics like? What are the clicks like? Like what's happening? Like, I don't know.
Yeah, what's the ad strategy?
Straight down the drain. Yeah, I totally agree though. Like even just the term social media management has become such a broad, ambiguous thing, and I think that only people who have actually are in marketing or who have done social media management really appreciate this. But I kind of believe it's just a broad term for bullshit, because if you say that, oh, I need a social media manager, okay, what do you want out of that? We have people come to us all the time and they're like, yeah, I want to get you guys to do social posts for me. And when we actually dig down into okay, what do you want? What's the goal here? And very often it comes down to, I want more sales. Very often these business owners don't actually care about, their engagement rate or anything. They want more sales. And we're like, okay,
exactly.
Well, let's find the bottleneck in your business then, and why you're not making the sales you want to make, because it's very unlikely that doing more posts on Instagram is going to get this optometry clinic the kind of sales they want to get, you know?
Yeah, exactly. They're like, I need 8 posts a day. You're like, that's such a waste of everybody's time and energy.
It's just like, you know, at the end of the day, I mean, who gives a fuck about your business? You know, I mean, like,
Yeah, no,
is there an
exactly.
easier way? Is it like, are you gonna dominate social media, or hear me out? It sounds crazy. Maybe there's a couple people that could just refer people to your business for free.
Yeah.
You don't have to do any work, right? Like, it's like,
Yeah.
And I think like a lot of times when you do marketing, it's such a broad term that people are just like, I don't know what to do, and then you just look at what they're doing and you're like, well, I see that. Yeah. Okay. Here's like how you can change some things, right? Like,
Yeah.
you know.
I
So
always think
when
that
you're like helping your clients out specifically, like, are you coming in and you guys are like, how are you guys getting leads coming in through the content for them? Is it mainly like getting them to reply to a post and then you send them a cold DM? Are you getting them to kind of like click a link in the bio? Like, what's kind of your strategy for it?
Yeah, so the main people that we serve is we try to target online, and we do other people, but you know, we set different expectations. The main people that we serve are people already doing pretty well, like 15 to 20K a month. In that range, 10K is on the fringes of it, because essentially those people are talented enough and dynamic enough to get leads, but there's just like so much untapped potential sitting in their their content is like, again, like them shirtless and like posing in front of the camera or like working out, and it's like, dude, nobody cares. Like, I'm sorry, people care, but like they don't care that much to just like sit in. I think the funniest thing, and like this has happened to me multiple times, I find this hilarious. I've had multiple trainers tell me, like guy trainers, they're like, hey man, how do I stop getting gay dudes to message me hitting on me? I'm like, well, maybe you should post content about your ICP instead of you shirtless. Maybe that's, I don't know. What do you think about that strategy? And we're like, wow, that's a good idea. And that's the point, right? Like it's I use that to illuminate the point of like, when you focus on the clients, then they start coming in more. You're attracting them, right? Like if you're brand new to the game, it takes a while to build a presence. But if you already have some sort of success, you have some sort of momentum, and you dial in the messaging, because really that's all we did for Corey, was we just dialed in his messaging and made sure that we prioritized the audience, because he was, again, posting pictures with his shirt off, videos of him on boats, cool. But as soon I talked to him and I said, hey, look, what is the thing that, like, the biggest problems that your clients come to you with? And he went, oh, I can easily rattle those off. I'm like, okay, I'm going to come back to you with a bunch of scripts based on this shit, and we're just going to do that. That's what we're going to do. And obviously, it's a lot more, you know, when I present it to people, it's not just like, do this and this, right? But there was a lot more things that came into that. But that was, at the heart of it, that was the main change. We're going to prioritize the audience. Right, we're gonna stop posting just you shirtless because it's weird and we need to cut it out, because this isn't like a GQ shoot. We're trying to make money and get clients here, so let's act like it. Like, what kind of content would lead people further down your funnel? So, and that's how we kind of do it.
Mm-hmm.
So using that specific example, you say that you, with Corey, I know that that's like the client that you talk a lot about and you've gotten really good results for. So when you say you dialed in his messaging, can you give us like an example of what kind of content he was making, and then the direction that you were like, I think this is where we need to take your messaging?
Yeah, for sure. So, for example, I remember there was one post where it was like B-roll of him on a boat with, I swear to God, this is what like 90% of his posts were. It was like him with his shirt unbuttoned and like his abs and like looking off into the sunset. And it was like a quote that said like, it was just like a generic motivational quote. I don't remember what it was, but it was like, you're never going to succeed if you don't get uncomfortable. It's like, yeah, we know. We're aware. But, like, what does that have to do with your offer? So I think one of the best series we did was, like, these breakfast foods are keeping you fat. Because I asked him, like, okay, what are the problems that your clients are going through? And he's like, well, a lot of them just, like, eat garbage for breakfast. Like, it has no protein. They're eating, like, donuts, basically. And they wonder why they're fat. And I go, okay, well, like, do you think they would want more of that information? Because people pay for this is a writer downer for the people listening at home. There are two things that people pay for: information that changes the way you think, and implementation. And if you give the first one freely, they're far more likely to pay for the second one. So if you give them information that changes their paradigm and how they see the world, they are far more likely to pay you to do it for them, because they're going to go, fuck, that's really valuable, and I didn't know that, and that sounds like a lot. I'll just hire you.
Yeah.
And so that's
100%.
what we did, right? What we talked about with the feed, we want it to be like Netflix, like they're binging. So I get so many people tell me, like, dude, whenever I see Corey's stuff, like, I just go through his feed and, like, I love it. And I guess the beta test for it was myself, because I would have to go through all this content. Like, I would have to sift through everything and write the captions and give them the scripts. And once we changed it so that we talked more about what are people going through and how can we help them, like, I was like, fuck, this is fun. Like, I can't believe I get paid for this. Like, I didn't know this stuff, and I've fucking, played college basketball, worked out since I was 13. My mom's a dietitian, and I didn't know most of the stuff that he was talking about. So I was like, yes, if I didn't know this stuff, most people are gonna love this. And, well, he's at almost 220,000 followers on Instagram. I think he's got 1 million followers on all his platforms. And he got kicked off TikTok because TikTok is the worst. Proof is in the pudding, right?
Wow. That's super interesting. That's actually exactly how I found my trainer that I'm working with now, because I went to his profile and what he was targeting was exactly what I felt I was. He was like targeting people who were kind of yo-yo dieters, and he's like, if you've tried keto and intermittent fasting and all these things and you still feel like you're working harder than your results are showing, then I want to work with you. And it just felt like he was speaking exactly to me. And then I started looking at his content and I was like, yeah, I mean, I think you need to make somebody feel like you already understand their problem and that you have the solution to it, and then they're way more likely to be like, I already see the value of potentially working with this person.
Yeah, and that's the benefit of niching down, right? Could you imagine if you just went to his page and he was like, it was him doing pull-ups and it's like, you're destined for greatness, Muhammad Ali. You'd be like, oh, cool, like, I don't care. Like, wow, this helps me 0 times out of 10. Like, thank you.
So with that Corey guy that you're talking about, is it do you like, because you had said with your pricing you're anywhere from $2,500 to $7,500, right? So is that like one time, like a package deal, or is there like some way that you get people on for like recurring?
Yeah, so I usually do my recurring stuff in 3 or 6 months 6 month increments. Rarely do 6, usually do 3. And the reason for that is so that there's an end goal that we're working towards. You know what I mean? Like, if I just say, look, it's monthly, it's like, okay, but that's not unlimited. You know what I mean? And they're going to get tired of it eventually because they think that you're just running them through the ringer. And if you can show value in 3 months, odds are they're going to want to resign. And like, the biggest thing, because with organic content, there's so much that you can't measure, right? You become top of mind of people. How do you fucking measure that? Like, sit down your followers like they're in a Clockwork Orange and peel their eyes and test them to see how often they think of you. You can't. So what I tell them is, what we're doing is we're creating a valuable content library, so that when people go to your page, they know exactly what you're about, they can binge your content, and closing them becomes that much easier, right? Because again, if you want to run ads, do I believe that you need to post 18 times a day when you're running ads, or even if you're not running ads, to close people? No, I don't. But I think there's a certain amount of content you do need for people to understand what you're doing to make things easier in your sales side, right? Odds are, when you start creating more momentum and people see the content and closing them becomes easier, they're going to want more of it, right? So that's that. The educational email course, which is the middle of the funnel thing I sell, it's usually a one-time fee and it's an asset that runs forever, right? So the idea is, I create an email sequence for a client. I create a landing page for them. I write the copy on the landing page. I write all the emails. When they go to the landing page, they see specific benefits for the ICP. So for example, Corey's is, if you go to thebigbellyblaster.com, yeah, that's the real link, you'll see his landing page for it. And so he talks about, in that title, the specific benefits you get from signing up for this email course. Excuse me. And so people are very likely to sign up for it because it's free. You're getting your problem solved exactly what you need. And, right, the law of reciprocity. They feel like you're giving freely to them. They're more likely to sign up for your stuff because you're positioned as the authority. And so that's usually a one-time fee that I charge that. And depending on how many bells and whistles you want, that's the one that's $7K because it runs forever, right? Like Corey's educational email course in 3 months, that automation booked him 75 calls. Let's say he only sold his lowest tier package, which I think is $1,000, and he only closed 25 of them out of 75. That's what, $25,000? That's 5 times the lowest package of the email course of what I charge. So Sure, yeah, a lot of people can look
Yeah.
at that and go, oh man, that's a premium price. It's a valuable asset though. And okay, that's just 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, a year, 2 years. How much easier is it to close people? How much easier is it to make sales? How much easier is it to grow your business automatically because you have this asset in place that prints money for you?
Yeah, I think that's a really good point about business. And I think a lot of people who, I mean, we've been kind of on a similar journey where we all, well, at least you and I, tried to do like the whole corporate thing, the full-time job thing, and then made the pivot to entrepreneurship. And it seems like a lot of people who are in that place where they're like, I know I want to do my own thing, but I don't really know anything about business. A lot of people have a hard time seeing that long-term return. Like when they're looking at signing up for courses or looking to work with a trainer, a lot of people are just so afraid to spend money because they only see that short-term investment. So you kind of have to show them that. Like you have to do that math and be like, okay, well, let's say worst case scenario, you know, out of these 75 calls, you book 25 of them. Like we had to do that with a lot of our clients where like the math shows that you will make this much money, but sometimes you need to show them that because people are very like short-sighted, especially when it comes to pulling out their wallets, I find.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I think that like, yes, most of business I think is just objection handling. Like you're constantly objection handling, right? People judge books by their cover. We're human beings. That's how it works. People come to your page. They're going to look for things to, you know, they're going to look for things to pick apart, or they're going to look for reasons to believe based on what information you give them. You get on sales calls. Lots of people you're going to have to objection handle. Oh, well, how much money is this? Can you guarantee me that? At the end of the day, if you believe in, I always go to this, right? Because I talk to people about selling a premium for what you do because there's no better feeling in the world for getting elite results and getting paid well for it. If you have a moral obligation, if you believe in what you sell, if you believe you can get the results you're telling people that you can get, you have a moral obligation to sell to people. And there are going to be obligations, there are going to be objections that come up with that. But again, like if you think you can improve people's lives, why are you not selling to them? Why are you not improving their life? Right? Like I had this one person comment on my Instagram post. I released my own free email course, the Fitness Trainer Fast Track, which has grown automatically, by the way. Another reason why I believe in the educational email course, because if you have it in your bio, it just grows when people find your shit. And this guy commented on my post and he said, wow, are you trying to help fitness trainers get better and better people's lives? Or is this all about money? And a bunch of like rude asshole-ish things came to my head to say, and I didn't pick any of them, so I'm growing as a person. But I guess at the end of the day, right, like if you're terrible at what you do, you're not going to be able to sell a premium. That's thing number one. Like you can't sell something for a high ticket if you're actually garbage at what you do. That's not how that works. Second off, if you're like, let's say you help a guy lose 50 pounds and now like his marriage is all of a sudden better and his kids look up to him and he's like not gonna be bedridden in a hospital. Can you put a dollar value on that? I don't think you can. So if people value their health and if you can show them the value in what you sell, why not put a price that feels right to you, right? Like I always ask people this. If you were in the exact same position you're in right now, next year at this exact same time, how much would you pay for that not to be the case? And most people would be like, oh my God, I wouldn't want that at all. Okay, so spend the money now, find people who can get you where you want to go, and don't have that be a possibility, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, a good business deal is one where both parties win, ultimately. And I think when it comes to marketing and stuff, a lot of maybe lesser educated people assume that marketing means like you're being sold something. But it's exactly what you said. If you have a really valuable service and you know that you can get somebody a life-changing result, then you kind of have an obligation to provide it to them. And it sounds like you and Corey kind of did that for each other because he's like, I know I can help people. And you're like, yeah, and I know I can help you.
Exactly. And I think that, I don't know, I don't mean for this to sound a bit nihilistic or like whatever, but people also have to remember that in life, everything is a value exchange. You know what I mean? Like, I think people are a bit too idealistic about business and life and like, we all hold hands and dance together in kumbaya and like, the world is just great according to my worldview. Like, sales is a lot like dating, right? Have you guys heard this before? Where people are like, sales is a lot like dating. If you go ask a girl to marry you at a bar, she's going to punch you in the face, blah, 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 et cetera, et cetera. it's the same thing, right? Like I've had, you know, people say to other people or friends, or, you know, I've heard people tell me like, oh, well, you know, if you weren't in great shape, your girlfriend probably wouldn't be with you. Yeah, she probably wouldn't be. Like, that comes with the package, right? Like, if you don't provide a high value service, you can't sell high ticket. Like, you need to be the kind of person who can sell high ticket, who can get those results. It's not just about like 10K and people are gonna pay. Like, that's not how it works. You can't say like, I'm gonna date a supermodel and you live in your mom's basement and play video games and eat Cheetos all day. Like, that's just not how it works. It's a value exchange. You will get the type of partner you are capable of getting. You will get the type of prospect you are capable of getting. That's how life works. And I think if people kind of took that like holistic approach and like looked at, okay, who am I? What do I sell? What, you know, what kind of value am I offering? What kind of time am I saving them? To the entire equation, and are able to communicate that to the prospect and the people they're selling to, you have such a much easier time selling, right? So I hate to kind of break it down into those parts and like, you know, not make it seem as magical, but it is the truth.
Yeah, and like with all the, I guess to pivot to your agency, right? So I know you took some clients from your previous dealings, right? You came in and you got word of mouth going, so you got some referrals, right? So that's good. Outside of those, like, how are you currently like going after any kind of specific, like, I guess what's the way you're getting clients right now outside of just, you know, referrals, word of mouth, that kind of thing, or is it all referrals?
Yeah, for sure. So I've been doing cold DMs again recently, and that has been, cold DMs is the worst thing. I hate it so much, but I do it because I think it's important. And I'm looking into doing ads more often as well. I had somebody send me a voice note today. They're like, "No, I'm not interested in your service." I was like, "That was super polite. I'm not even gonna lie. Like, you took time out of your day to voice note me that you don't want to buy what I'm selling." Even though I just asked, I was like, "Hey, man, I'm trying to provide value to people in the online trainer space. Can I ask you a question?" And he was like, "No." I was like, "All right, cool." I do cold DMs. I'm working on getting ads set up because I think that's very important, and I think I kind of have a decent enough brand and social proof to the point where I should be doing that stuff soon. I invest a lot of money back into the business in terms of like masterminds, courses, and so that's how a lot of referrals come up for me as well, as I connect with people in the industry, and if things come up, then I'm able to capitalize. I think that's a very underrated way of getting business, like surrounding yourself with like-minded entrepreneurs, like-minded people in the industry who want to do great things, you know, and then they'll be like, "Oh, if I know anybody, I'll refer you," right? So that's been kind of a lot of ways that I've been getting business.
Nice. Yeah. Cold DMs are kind of the worst. It's like it's almost like the most soul-sucking thing you can do, but it's also so valuable, like in the long term. Like if you're so consistent, right? Because you can meet people, they can like tell you no, but then they'll like, you know, when people are haters, but they're just still like kind of watching your shit. They'll like just keep watching you, and then they'll like, it could be 6 months later, and they're like, "Okay, man, fine, I'll try this thing out." And they're like, "Oh, damn, I knew," which you would never have had if you didn't do the cold DM, right?
Yeah, literally. And it makes me think of like, what would it have been like to be like a door-to-door salesman? I was never one of those, but I can imagine that's fucking brutal.
Yeah.
Right. So, but valuable.
Hey, fuck off. Yeah. Yeah. All right.
Yeah. Exactly.
It's a good skill to like get the reps in though on. Like I always say, I think that everybody at some point should do like customer service or like waitressing or something, because even if it's not like the end goal, it just like builds character, I think, in business.
Yeah, my thing was because I wanted to play professional basketball when I was younger, and I would try out for so many teams, and I would just like keep getting cut, and like coaches would be like, "You're bad, you should stop," and I'd be like, "Okay, that's cool," and I just like keep going, and I actually got a scholarship out of it. So it's like, hey, I can do that. I can do that. I can have trainers tell me to go fuck myself, who I've never met in my life. Yeah, that doesn't hurt me at all. You can go for it.
Yeah.
Is that message supposed to be up on the camera? It says movie recording. Sorry, we're just
Sorry.
working out something on our end.
Do you guys record yourselves from a different camera as well?
Yeah, so we're basically recording in two places right now. We have the webcam
badass.
going, and then we also have our DSLR camera plugged in.
Yeah, we're not sure which one's gonna work better with the audio, really. Just like with this mic, because we're both kind of talking from it, but we have these little these little wireless ones. So we're like, well, be on the safe side, you know, just like one camera there, and then we have this shitty webcam here, and then we'll just mix the audio after and see what happens.
Yeah.
And go from there.
Yeah,
Nice.
I
Good call, man.
totally should have filmed myself on my phone. That was rookie mistake.
It's hey, you know what? It's our bad for not reminding you. You know,
Yeah.
really, if you think about it,
It's all good.
it's all our fault.
We'll see what the final
Yeah.
product looks like.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Okay, so in terms of, I know we talked about your pricing a little bit. We talked about kind of your services that you're kind of doing all the way from content creation, helping them out with the more like lead gen items, getting in that long-term kind of automation to help them build their business, going there. How do you, I guess I would say like, when you first started out, right, to take it back all the way to the beginning, how did you get in touch with that agency? Like if you were fired from jobs before, you dropped out, all these things, like what got you into that even first agency that started you down this path?
Yeah, for sure. So I was running a podcast. 2018. I started at the end of the summer. And it was called Winnipeg's Finest, and I interviewed a bunch of people from Winnipeg, and honestly, it was a very selfish thing. I just wanted to increase my network. People love talking about themselves. I wanted to grow my network, and it worked out. And one day I interviewed these agency owners, and they were like, that was really good, and like, you have a pretty good presence just from nothing. Do you need a job? And I just dropped out of university, and I was like, yeah. So they hired me. And yeah, that was the start.
Oh, wow. And you just kind of like pick up the skills like from working at the agency?
Yeah, I did. I've worn a lot of different hats in my life, and I think that doing a bunch of different shit kind of helped me adapt a lot easier than if I were to like hone in so early, right? So that agency, I learned quite a bit. I also used to work at TSN 1290, RIP, before it went defunct in Winnipeg. And yeah, I also used to do like sports journalism. I used to do my own podcast. I used to be in communications school. So like, I've been around the marketing block. So you pick things up. I've invested like crazy in courses this year, and I think that's where my biggest growth has been. And that's what I would, attribute a lot of my growth this year to, which is courses and paying for mentorship. So
How'd you go about like picking the courses that you wanted to take?
So I found. Do you guys know Dakota Robertson?
Dakota? No.
He's bigger on Twitter. I found his ghostwriting cohort. I can't remember how I found it, but he announced that he was releasing a ghostwriting cohort, and I found it, and he was like, "I'll help you get to 10K a month as a Twitter ghostwriter," and I was like, "Fuck it, that sounds cool. Let's do that." So I did it, and then I had already been following Nicolas Cole for a while. So when I found out he was releasing a ghostwriting program, I was like, "Yeah, I'm doing that." And then I got really excited and jacked up and started getting some new clients. And I was like, "Fuck, I need to spend this money like somehow. I need to spend this money. I can't have it." I also hate paying taxes, so I was just like, I need to find a way to just like not pay taxes, as much taxes as possible. I make like $10,000 a year if the CRA is listening to this. My business and my personal pays me like $800 a year. I live in a box. I live in a box in my parents' basement, and so
I mean,
I
you
found
could
this
with that background.
Yeah, exactly. I could be anywhere. I'm not in Portugal. I'm living in my parents' basement in Winnipeg. No, but
Bag of Cheetos next to you.
Yeah, exactly. My parents are like, "Who are you talking to?" Nobody. And so I found another program that I liked, and I'm pretty liberal with how I spend money on programs. I'm not going to lie to you. Like, I have zero sales resistance. If I find some people who are like, "Let me just do like 5-10 minutes of research," I like you. This is good. These are my goals. They're like, I can help you. I'll spend the money. Like, I have no issue spending money on myself, and so that's worked out for the most part. So I'm pretty happy with the results.
So how did you make that? I just want to kind of elaborate more, because I know you said that you kind of wore many hats, you dabbled in some different things. I think it sounds like you and I took very similar paths at one point, because you, I think, were actually considering going to the creative communications program that I also did. But when you went to that first agency and you kind of got offered a job just based on the fact that somebody thought that you were cool and had a good presence, did you feel any like imposter syndrome going into that setting and doing things like copywriting or whatever you were doing without having like a strong background in that thing? So I think that's something that people really struggle with when they're trying to get into something, is like, I don't know if I have the credentials to like do this position.
I'm going to be honest with you, no, because I don't think that, this is going to sound so bad. They didn't really train me. They were just like, do this. And I was like, all right, cool. Like, I'm basically a button pushing chimp. And I didn't realize like what I was doing and how it impacted the business bottom line. I just thought I was like a clipboard holder. And then so they're like, oh, how come you didn't do X? I'm like, I didn't know I was supposed to do X. Like, well, you're supposed to. I'm like, nobody told me. I guess I'm doing X now. And so I guess I just kind of like fell upwards. And also like the management job I was in, it's not like I was doing a lot of shit. It was just like, we have a copywriter, we have a video editor, we have this, we have that. We need you to post, we need you to manage the people, we need you to make sure that nothing falls through the cracks. So I just kind of thought of myself like, I'm like a marketing goalkeeper right now. Like, nothing should get through me. I can do that. Like, that's pretty fucking easy. And then it wasn't as easy as I thought. But again, like, I was like the only employee at the time, so they couldn't really afford to fire me. They just had to like train me. So no, if I'm being honest with you, I didn't experience imposter syndrome because I didn't realize I didn't understand any of what I was doing until like a year in. And at that point, I'd taken so many nicks and bruises. I was like, no, I can do this. I can do this.
Nice.
So how do you go about like I know you're saying when you have I guess when you want to learn something from a course or something, you're like, okay, does this help me solve my problems? And you go for it. Do you feel like the courses is kind of the main way that you find new ideas and then build them up quickly, or is there some other method you're using?
Yeah, courses, books, genuinely being insane. I think that like my mind never shuts up, like ever. I was asking one of my clients the other day, I was like, what keeps you going? Like, what helps you stay focused? And he's like, the crippling fear that it'll all fall apart. And I was like, me too. And so I'll sometimes like randomly, like I'm going to sleep and I'm like, yeah, like time to go to sleep. And my mind will be like, what if all your clients leave you? And then I'm like, you're right. And then I just like stay up thinking about like, how can I be more valuable? What angles do I cover already? What do I not cover? What is any possible way they could, I'm just very, very hyperactive mentally. And I think that I look for ways to be more different. I was also like a bit of a weirdo growing up. Like I never really fit in groups. So I think something that's kind of a strong identity I have is that I need to be different from people. So like I've always looked for ways to stand out, to differentiate myself, to be a hater, to be like, no, I'm not going with the group. Fuck that. Like if I like something and other people start liking it, I'm like, oh, this is stupid. Now I hate it. So I think that mentality of like needing to be different at all points in time, it just kind of seeps into everything I do, and it works out in marketing, right? Like, sorry guys, I can't. It's just a natural talent of mine, like being a unique hater. I don't know how to give it to other people, but like example, I'm a big Raptors fan. I moved to Toronto. I was like, cheering for the Raptors isn't fun now. It's lame and stupid because everybody here likes the Raptors. So how can I be different and be a hater now? I can't. So I didn't watch it.
Started walking around with a Spurs jersey on or something, didn't you?
Yeah, exactly. I was like, yeah, I like the Celtics. No, I can't even say that with a straight face. But yeah, exactly. So I'm just always looking for ways, and differentiation I think is so important because so many people want to be entrepreneurs, so many people want to succeed, so many people want to make money, and I think that if you're trying to be better than other people, you're playing a losing game because what you're saying is, I'm just going to take what you're already doing and make incremental changes. Ha! Look at me, I'm the best one. And it's like, okay, well, a lot of times once the market gets saturated to a certain point, if you're not finding a different lever to pull, whether it's niche, outcome, results, mechanism, and you're just like, I'm a copywriter and I'm better than you, and I'm the landing page copywriter and I'm just better than you, the changes that you think you're making aren't valuable enough to charge for, and they're not big enough to make a difference. So you're just running in place.
And what's that kind of your like daily routine if you had one? Like, what does that look like? Like, are you going to bed and early? You going to bed late with your rampant thoughts?
Crippling anxiety.
Exactly.
Yeah. I actually don't sleep. I just stay up all night, reading Gary V quotes. No, I'm kidding.
That's why you never sleep.
Yeah, I'm surprised you're in Portugal, not Colombia.
Yeah, exactly. I stay up doing cocaine and like reading Grant Cardone quotes, telling myself I'm worthless if I don't make $1 million.
Oh my god. Honestly, I think if you were only influenced by Gary Vee for the rest of your life, you probably would never do anything other than work for the rest of your life. He really drives that shit home. But anyway.
I also think his marketing isn't like, I think it's horrific advice for newbies, but that's a conversation for a different day. No, I sleep with the 10X rule by Grant Cardone playing in my ears so I can like internalize it while in my subconscious. No, okay, so it's funny you ask about the daily routine because I actually just started a new one like literally today. I've struggled for a long time with routines because I'm so hyperactive, and I used to like get up and walk and meditate and this and that, and like, or the classic get up and check your phone, right? Today was the first day in like a long time I entered like such a deep flow state, and the reason was because the first thing I did when I woke up was I like threw my phone across the room, covered it so I couldn't see it, opened my laptop and just worked for like 4 hours, and it was great because I don't know about you guys, but I find that the first thing I do in the morning kind of sets a tone for the day. So if I go on a walk first thing, I kind of let my mind wander, and I kind of walk, and I think about what the Raptors are doing, and I think about how I would fix the Raptors if I was a GM, but I'm not. So I worry about that needlessly for the next hour, and then I kind of think, well, what are they up to? And so I'm much more likely to check what they're up to, nothing good, online. And so I found that when I got up and I checked work first thing, and I went, okay, I got 3 tasks I need to do. I'm going to bang them out like crazy. Every hour I'm going to meditate or journal or do something. I was so efficient. Like I got more done than I've got done in weeks. And I was like, wow, shit. Like if I'm doing this well and I'm like have this many energy leaks, like what am I really possible? Like what am I really capable of? You know what I mean? So that's my new beta test. I'm going to let you guys know how it goes over the next little bit because of course I'm traveling the next little bit and some things go by the wayside. But getting up and working right away and filling breaks in with things like meditation and journaling, I find has been effective for one whole day. So I'm going to try it again and I'll let you guys know how it goes.
So what about shutting your day down? Are you for the kind of person who like kind of needs a buffer zone between like work and going to bed, or do you just like work until you're dropping? Like how do you handle shutting down at the end of the day?
Yeah, I usually need like 30 to 45 minutes of not looking at my phone, and like I've tried to like, okay, close my laptop and go to bed, and I just like stare at the ceiling. It doesn't work. I usually need some time away from things, and you know, having a social life, ew, gross, and like, you know, not being a crazy person, gross. But I find that I need some time to decompress at the end of the day, and scrolling on Instagram doesn't count. So it's honestly super underrated staring at the wall. I'm going to be completely honest. Whether you are lacking creativity or you need to decompress or you need to sort out your thoughts, stare at the wall for like 30 minutes. It will solve your problems, seriously. And that knocks me out. That helps me go to sleep.
Yeah, no, I believe that. I actually, I was listening to this kind of motivational clip by Joe Rogan recently, and he was talking about how underrated it is to just give yourself time at some point in the day to just be bored. He's like, seriously, just like block out time to do nothing, and like you'll be amazed at what you get out of that time. Just being like, I'm just gonna do nothing right now, and just like stare at the wall if I have to. He's like, people aren't bored anymore.
Yeah, and I think, right, like, it gives you time to be creative. It gives you time to connect different thoughts and different ideas. I'm sure you guys have heard this study where people were asked, would you rather get zapped, like get an electrical shock, or stay alone with your thoughts for like 20 minutes, and most people chose the shock.
Damn.
Have you guys
No,
heard
I
that
haven't
one?
heard of that.
No.
Yeah, it's pretty
I
funny.
believe it,
Yeah,
though.
and like a much higher percentage of guys than girls too. It's like 75% of guys just took the shock. They're like, I just want to get out of here. It's pretty funny.
Wow, that's hilarious. So broken inside.
So
Too much Gary
when
Vee.
I think when we talked about your business, we did forget one thing. What kind of costs do you have associated with running your business? And like, do you have any specific softwares that you're using?
Sorry, somebody tried to distract me off camera, and it worked. Fuck, I'm so easy to throw off. But yeah, so I pay my video editor, I pay my brother. I have, you know, like Zoom, Calendly, Google Drive. It's nothing crazy. ConvertKit. There's nothing like I don't have a CRM. If I'm being honest with you, if I'm being completely honest with you, I don't even know what that means. I don't know what that does. Like people ask me, like, "What's your CRM?" I'm like, I don't fucking know, man. Like, what's it supposed to do? Isn't it like customer relations management or something like that?
Yeah.
What are they going to answer if somebody wants to scream at me? Like, I don't get it, right? So, anyways, I don't have it. Sorry, go ahead. If you want to answer that question, you can answer that question, please.
No, I mean it's kind of irrelevant. But I was gonna say I think you only really need a CRM. Like it really depends on your business. Like we use a CRM for like managing different clients and like emailing and tracking their funnels and payments and all that shit. But like if you don't feel like you need one, then like who fucking cares what it is, you know?
I try to be as bare bones as possible, but I understand, you know, as you level up, you're gonna have new problems. So yeah, but just basic stuff: Zoom, Calendly, ConvertKit. My editors.
And for ConvertKit, is that what you're using for like the funnels and emails?
Yeah, I've got a pretty decent hang on ConvertKit, and it's pretty solid. So
nice. Okay, there's so many softwares out there for like funnels, emails, all kinds of stuff. It's like,
yeah,
you know, got the tribes going to war over them too, and you're like, holy shit, man.
It gets overwhelming.
Okay. Oh, okay. So our next question is: would you have any advice for other entrepreneurs or other people who want to make the pivot from leaving the 9-to-5 life to entrepreneurship?
Yeah, don't quit your job. Don't quit your job. Like, get fired like I did to have to take the leap. But build on the side, right? Because, like, you never know how much time you waste during the day until you spend $11,000 on performance coaching and he teaches you how to not look at your phone and then you realize, wow, I'm an idiot, right? You never know. You never know. But it's always better to build on the side, and then once you realize I can't do this anymore, you have enough skills to take it on your own. So don't quit your job. If I never called myself an entrepreneur. I never realized that was something I wanted to do until I got fired. Identify as one now. Start taking the steps so that you can leave your job. The second thing I would tell people is it's a lot easier than you think in terms of not like making money and actually building. That would be insane. Sorry. It's a lot more simple than you think. It's not easy, but it's simple. Solve a valuable problem. That's it. Like, solve a valuable problem for a specific group of people. And the more unique you can make it, the more valuable the problem's going to be. The more you can charge for it, right? Like, if you're saying, I copyright for anybody. Okay, copyright what? You could probably get paid. You're probably going to get paid per word, which is garbage, by the way. You're probably going to find gigs on Fiverr, which no slight to Fiverr, but it's not a long-term strategy. Find out who you could serve. Find out what industries you know about. Sync up your talents with your passions and choose that, right? Like, don't pick what you love. Don't pick what you love. Because if I picked what I loved, I would have chosen basketball or something stupid. And I don't think there's a lot of money in basketball outside of like coaching or really grinding, right? Like, I really want to be a sports journalist. So I realized that, like, wow, I actually don't like this because I want to be a homer and yell at my TV, not like have reasonable takes and like, you know, long hours that are not rewarding. So do something that you're good at and that you like, but specifically pick the thing that you are good at. Don't do something that crushes your soul, right? Like, I'm good with numbers. My dad's an accountant. I think when I took accounting in college, I had like a 99.5 or something. I hated it. I don't want to do accounting. But if I'm very good at talking. I don't shut the fuck up. I'm very energetic. I love communicating and marketing and writing. So I take those skills and apply it to an industry, fitness, nutrition, helping people scale their business. I'm passionate about, not as passionate at basketball, but very passionate about, and things are going pretty well. So yeah, don't quit your job. Pick something you're good at that doesn't kill your soul. It's a lot more simple than you realize, and saturation is a myth. Like, everybody says, oh, the markets are too saturated. Well, if you don't differentiate yourself, yes, it's saturated, but most people are new, and then they quit. So there's more new people, and then they quit. If you commit to something for a year, and you work on serving a specific niche and providing a specific outcome, you will be ahead of like 85% of businesses. Truly, honestly. And people don't realize that.
That's a good point.
Yeah, it's always like people see like the motivation quotes and all kinds of things that like pulls them in, and they're like, yeah, for sure. Like, but I've always found, similar to you, that like the most shocking thing is just like how simple it is. Not necessarily that it's so easy and like everyone's doing it, but like it's really like a set of skills that you stack, right? Or that you have to acquire that you don't have.
Yeah.
And now it's like you're like, oh, this is the path. Like, if I want sales, okay, how do I get sales? Well, I don't know. Like, usually I got to meet with someone, right, to get the sale. Okay, all right, I got to meet with someone. Okay, how do I meet someone? Well, I gotta talk to someone at some point, right? People don't just show up on your calendar unless you had some kind of video or something that talked to that person for you that was automated, right? Like, there's some way you talk to people. So it's like, you can kind of break it down. You're like, oh, I just need to, like, talk to people. And then that could lead to meetings. And then, like, that leads to sales.
Yeah.
Big money.
And
I sell them, right?
I would also say this, too. Your business only grows as much as you grow. I think a lot of people grind themselves into the dirt with technical skills, but they don't realize, like, maybe you have, like, personal issues, which is something I ran into this summer. Like, I realized I had a lot of things that I'd been carrying with me for years, that, like, I was just such a high-functioning, dysfunctional person. You know what I mean? Like, just a self-destructive, high-functioning person. And because I'm so, like, hyperactive, I didn't realize it because I'm just so erratic. And then once I realized that and I actually worked on those things, I was like, oh, wow, business is a lot more fun again. Like, okay, I can do this again. You know what I mean? So, yes, you can do well if you work on the technical skills, but unless you grow as a person and fix, like, your limiting beliefs around yourself, money, relationships, it's going to be a lot harder to grow than you think.
You know, it's so funny. I was listening. Sorry to cut you off, dude. I was listening actually to this, like, video from Sam Ovens this morning, and that dude's, you know, straight up robot. But he was talking about how billionaires think, and he was explaining how all these little skills like Facebook ads or writing content or copywriting, like, some people go about them and they're like, I'm just going to learn everything about Facebook ads. But he's like, you don't realize that, like, if you don't have the right beliefs, if you don't have the right actions, you don't have the right mindset, it's like trying to go to, like, a Macintosh computer and then, like, all of a sudden install Windows on it. Like, it doesn't work that way. You can't just install different operating systems on something else. It's like it won't work. So he's like, the same information can help someone become a billionaire, and the same information someone would be like, that's gay, and then just like they're done with it, you know, or like, oh yeah, right, and like they're gone. So it's like that is super important to the overall, you know, success that you end up experiencing.
For sure. Well, it's funny because one of my buddies, he sells, like, lower back pain plans. He's an online trainer for lower back pain specifically. And, like, a guy I knew was like, oh man, that's such a scam. I'm like, what? Like, fixing lower back pain is a scam? Do you hear the words coming out of your mouth? Like, what kind of sentence? He's like, oh yeah, it's just like scammy, salesy stuff. And I was like, all right, man. Okay, we're not going to get into this conversation because it's going to end in a fist fight somehow. So, but the nice thing about business is there's equations for everything. That was a joke, obviously. I don't beat up my friends. We're not friends. I beat up strangers. No, everything. There's equations for everything in business, right? Like, the person wants X. If you give them Y, you'll get a sale, right? Like, you can, and I know this isn't, like, fun for a lot of people. This is how my mind works. You can break things down, right? Like, find out what the person wants, find out what their biggest pain point is, find out how you can best communicate that. You can sell to them. Okay, now look at yourself. Find out the problem you solve, find out the transformation that you give people, find out the niche you serve, find out how to position yourself. You can sell more, right? Like, there's equations for everything. Once you start plugging and playing different things, you kind of demystify, like, oh my God, I'm a business owner. Oh my God, I have to sell. Oh, no, I just have to understand what people are going through and provide a solution to communicate. Oh, yeah, I can do that. Like, anybody can do that. It's just, will you? And I think having those equations and breaking it down helps.
Yeah, that's a good way to think of it. So I was going to ask you, you said that you had to do some kind of, like, mindset shifts in some of your limiting beliefs. And I think that that's a really big point to hit on, because I think what stops people from going into entrepreneurship or even just pursuing the thing they want to do is limiting beliefs. And often it's things like fear of failure and stuff like that. So what did those look like for you, and how did you make changes that you feel have helped you kind of move past them?
Yeah, for sure. So I think for me specifically, like I said, like, I've always kind of been, like, a natural, like, different, like, hater, unique, like, I can't be like other people, it'll drive me crazy. That in extremes is, like, aggravating to be around, and, like, the self-destructing tendencies around that are, well, you isolate yourself, you don't allow people to come into your business, you're very, standoffish, and I could be a lot of those things, right? I think, have you guys read this book? And it's It's so good. My girlfriend introduced it to me. It's called Existential Kink.
No.
No.
You guys ever read it? It's very interesting. It talks about like sometimes the things that we fear the most are what we actually like, not in like a sexual way, but like you kind of find pleasure in, because the human experience wants to experience all different types of emotions, and so by running away from those things that you say are bad, your subconscious will try to experience them. So there's a part of you that needs to accept, like, okay, yeah, I can be a standoffish prick. Yes, I find people annoying and I can be very aggravating to be around. Oh, okay, that's cool. Like, these are parts of me that can come out. And I think the more that you accept those parts of yourself, the less they get in your way. For the longest time, I wanted to run from the idea that I was difficult, and I wanted to run from the idea of, you need other people. And so, and one of the things in the book they talk about, which is why I brought this up, is if you look at your present situation, your subconscious patterns present themselves. So for example, I live alone in a studio in an apartment across the country from where I grew up in one of the busiest neighborhoods in the city, but I don't go out. So it's like, oh yeah, that's telling me something about myself. I have like a deep subconscious of thought or comfortable emotion of like not liking people. Like I don't want to let people into my life. And so what kind of got me out of that was I had gone through a rough moment with a friend of mine, and I kind of realized that like just a lot of anger came up from that situation. And so I kind of realized that like I can't keep living like this and like ignoring these beliefs I have about myself, because sometimes they'd rear their head, right? Like you don't expect them to. You have a thought, you're like, oh, that's weird. Why'd that come up? So I did mushrooms, and I found somebody to teach me breath work and meditation, and it got better. That's how I fixed it.
Nice. Like you were like microdosing?
No, I did like 3 grams. I like tripped balls. It was great.
Opposite of microdosing.
Yeah, no, I
went into it.
That's not advice, by the way. Like, don't go like get high out of your mind and be like, I heard this on a podcast. This is gonna fix my life.
Yeah.
But I had good experiences with it in the past, and so I was like, fuck it, I'm just gonna do a bunch. And then I also like traveled to Amsterdam with my buddies, and hung out with them for a bit, and just did a lot of like reflection and journaling, and reading and getting comfortable with the idea of the things I didn't like about myself, right? So here's the advice portion. Find a mentor who resembles something that you admire. So for me, it was this guy. He's a yoga teacher. He runs his own business. He's like 65. And he's done a lot of cool things. He has been an actor for like 30 years. Him and I really connected, and I felt like he had some things that I really wanted in myself. Peace of mind, ability to not listen to negative voices in his head, ability to function with high levels of chaos in his life, right? He's also married. I want to be married one day, so I'm like, that helps my MO. And yeah, so a lot of things he taught me were very simple, like kind of similar to what I talked about with Corey. Like, we didn't reinvent the wheel. We're like, we're gonna like get you ClickFunnels and fucking buy ads, right? It was like, okay, what are the people going through? That's what we're gonna do. He was like, okay, do you meditate? I'm like, no. He's like, okay, that's what we're gonna do. And I was like, what is meditation? He's like, you ever focus on your breathing? That's all we're gonna do. So we broke it down, and yeah, I started journaling, and then I did mushrooms again, and it was great. And yeah, I worked up to the mushrooms, and yeah, it was good. It was like a 4-month process.
Can't wait for that to be part of the video.
Yes, not medical advice again.
Disclaimer.
So in living in Toronto, right? That's because that's where you live, right? Mm-hmm. Saw it on your LinkedIn.
That's where I currently live. Yes.
Yeah. Does it feel bad when you like leave? Like when you leave Toronto and you're like, shit, these rent prices, or like, like.
It feels bad because it feels bad because I like it there. I really do like Toronto. I've always thought the people thing was overblown. I've never had issues with people in Toronto, and like, I don't get why people think that Torontonians suck. I think it's because they're so like blinders on. But that's what I'm like. So I'm like, this is great. Like, there's nothing wrong. But I don't usually worry about stuff like that. I think I love Toronto. I think it's a great city. And I feel very fortunate that like it's easy to travel to other places. Flying from Toronto is so easy. And like that was one of the things I really didn't like about Winnipeg, was that flying other places. Like, well, you got to go to Toronto first and then go.
Yeah, almost every time. Yeah, almost every time. You're like, Toronto. Fuck.
Yeah, literally.
Yeah, and from Toronto, I mean, the prices are like pretty cheap, really. Like considering it, because that's the main hub, right? So it's like you don't have to pay connecting flights for the most part. I mean, unless you're going to some different, far places, but
no,
yeah,
you don't. And the prices are pretty cheap, so.
Nice.
Okay, so before we get to our last documenting question, I just wanted you to kind of take us on like a loose timeline of kind of the points you hit in your journey, like starting from high school. Because I know you went from like a high school grad to like, you dropped out of some colleges, you got fired from some jobs, you took up some other jobs, and now you're where you are now. And you had said something a while back that you said when you were working for that agency that eventually let you go, you felt like at one point you were too valuable for the team. So how did you go from, kind of give us a loose overview, like starting from high school graduation, what were kind of your points of interest?
Sure, yeah. So I graduated high school. I wanted to be a professional basketball player. So I spent 1 year at Canadian Mennonite University playing on the basketball team. And then I got a scholarship to play in Ontario. Went there. The teachers went on strike for 6 weeks. I dropped out. And I realized that my basketball career was coming to an end. I just wasn't that athletic, and like I knew that I was like, I'm not good enough to keep playing at this high of a level, and if I'm going to play pro, it's not going to be worth it. Like I'll be like the last man on the fucking 3rd division Portuguese team, and I'll make like $20,000 a year. It's like complete bum life. And so I realized when I was just like doing nothing, I would listen to podcasts and write, and I was like, I should do this for a living. So I started doing the communications program at U of W first because I hate school, and the idea of like cramming all my courses in and not having free time to do what I want sounds stupid. So I was like, well, the university, I was just like telling myself like, this is getting me a better education. No, it's because I didn't want to do Crecon, because like everybody who did it had like dead eyes and was like, yeah, man, we all love it. I'm like, no, you don't. You guys look sad. I don't want any part of that, but I feel like I'm going to have to do it eventually. I also like, I can't do things that once my subconscious is like, that's dumb, we're not doing that. I just can't bring myself to do it. Like construction jobs or restaurant jobs or Crecom apparently. After that, I was in U of W for a year. Like October of 2019, I was reading Tony Robbins on the bus and realized that the life I really wanted for myself, like no barriers, no questions asked, was not going to be given to me if I continued in Crecom. So I dropped out, got the job from the agency, worked for them for a bit, was trying to be a professional stand-up comedian since like late 2018. Moved, like 2019 was kind of a blur, and then I moved to Toronto at the beginning of 2021. 2020 was also a blur because of the pandemic and working full-time and all that stuff. Moved to Toronto early 2021, got fired July 2021. Then I was working at the other agency and was still doing stand-up, was trying to get that accelerated. About mid-2022, I realized stand-up was stupid, and I didn't want to do it because the payoff immediately was not worth it, especially with the trajectory I was taking in my job. And some of my clients were telling me, you're really good at this, like, you should focus more on this, because going to open mics and staying there for 2.5 hours to get up and do jokes in front of 0 people and get paid in maybe chicken fingers is not worth your time. And I was like, oh, maybe, that's true. I quit stand-up late 2022. Early 2023, got fired, started doing my business. Ta-da. Here we are.
Now you're here today.
Here I am.
Fuck yeah.
So I just want to quickly go back to like when you were working for that agency. What made you realize that you said like you felt like you were too valuable to the team? What was that kind of about?
This is gonna sound dickish, and I know that. But I just felt like talking with my boss, I was like, I don't think you know what you're doing. Like I would say like, hey, why would our clients stay with us? All we do is posting. All we do is post, and like, well, that's what they think we do. Like we don't have a unique offer or anything like that. He's like, nah, dude, like they understand that. I'm like, no, I know, but like once they realize that they can get anybody to do that, like they're not gonna and like our client churn was crazy high. And so like you'd always ask us for like ideas, and I'd bring ideas, and he just like would not listen to me, and I'm like, I don't think I'm valued here. And like unless I had my hands involved in a client, like I don't think usually we wouldn't get as good results. So that's why I felt that way.
Because you wanted to be giving them more value than you felt that they were getting.
Yeah, I just felt like even if we framed it differently, I felt like we kind of just positioned as like we do social media content. And I'm like, that's lame, and nobody sees value in that. It's a commodity at this point.
Yeah, it's really hard, especially like you got so many auto posters, you got so many people from India, Philippines, like anybody can press post on a button, right? So it's like, you know, if you're gonna just draw up something in Canva and then post it and be like, yeah, it's like, what the fuck you doing, man?
Yeah.
You're just wasting your time and money.
Post a picture of soap. Yeah, it's
Yeah. Very engaging.
Did your cousin also open fight clubs across the country? Serious question.
Fight clubs?
No.
Oh, you did, oh, that was like, get it? He sells soap.
Oh, from this
Ha, ha,
Fight
ha.
Club, yeah.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. Okay. I was waiting to make that joke for like an hour at this point, but anyways, it didn't go over well.
Like, it's gonna be a fucking dinner.
You threw it at us and we completely just dropped it.
I was like, I'm gonna get back around. I'm gonna make this joke. Anyways, that's fine.
I see why you quit comedy though. No, I'm just kidding.
Wow. Where's the leave button on this?
We got what you wanted, fucker.
On that note, now that we've insulted you, our last question is, when we interview people, we always want to ask them if they could recommend another entrepreneur that they think would be a cool person to interview, or a cool, you know, somebody who started their own business and is living the same lifestyle. So if you know of anybody you'd like to pass along to us that would make a good interviewee.
I'll let you, off the top of my head, let me think, because there's a couple people that come into my mind, but let me think on that.
Not
sure.
Gary Vee, okay?
Yeah,
Or
Grant
sent him a couple
Cardone actually.
messages. Yeah.
Yeah. It's just me doing a Grant Cardone impression with a green screen on, and like the 10x rule. Like,
I would actually love to see that. Grant Cardone seems like he'd be a hilarious person to just try to have like a casual conversation with. Like, it just seems like you wouldn't be able to.
No, you were growing it one day. No, this is really what. You gotta ask him some questions. We gotta learn some answers here.
yeah, exactly.
Right? Do you have any other questions?
I think that's pretty much it. I think we understand kind of how the business model works. I like what you're doing. I like that it's like basically like full stack, and I think you have obviously like a really good way of growing your business, right? Because you're getting these people the results, right? In terms of how they're structuring their social content, how they're actual executing to the sale, right? Like the path to the sale for the customer. And I mean, I'm sure you're going to be able to charge more in the future, right? As you keep stacking results, because like I feel like a lot of people feel like 2,500 to 7,500 is a lot, but for me, I've seen marketing industries and sales and all that stuff for a while, and I've seen people get sold on $50,000 packages for the same thing, and like not get results from it.
Yeah.
You know, so like I think at the end of the day, it's all about the results, and I like that you niche down into personal trainers. I think that's fucking cool, and I like that you have a lot of cool case studies. So
Thank you.
I'm excited to see where you go from it, because the fact that you just basically started this almost like this year, right? Like from what you're saying, getting word of mouth. I mean, that's such a good sign for your future, because if you did not know word of mouth, right, that'd be a fucking problem, because you wouldn't be getting those results, right?
No, literally.
Kind of scary.
Literally.
Yeah, starting in January and you've already had like 20, 30K plus months. It's awesome.
Yeah. Thank you. I
Congratulations.
appreciate that. I appreciate that.
Yeah,
Thank you.
so that's super exciting. And plus, you got your family involved too. So now you guys can all go pour together if it doesn't work, or get rich together. That's fucking exciting.
Yeah, literally. My mom's gonna be like, "Hey, you and your you got your brother to be broke. What the fuck happened? Fix this." Like, no, mom, we're gonna be rich.
Trust me.
I'm gonna take it with me.
Yeah, exactly.
No, that's the
If
dream,
I ever get busted for tax evasion, he's gonna be my fall guy, mom. That's what's.
Absolutely. He's gonna be your rat hole.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Well, we will let you get back to your evening in Portugal. What, are you there just for pleasure, business?
I mean, if the CRA is watching, business. Like, my mom's from here, and I have a client in England, so I was going to go to England. My girlfriend and I were going to go to Italy, and then Germany. So yeah, just both. Fuck around.
Okay.
Life is business at this point.
Yeah.
That's what I tell
that's
myself.
exactly it. I said to Alex, I was like, it's kind of perfect that he's going to be in Europe while we're doing this, because it just kind of feeds into the whole idea of the lifestyle that we're all trying to live. Just when you want to go to Europe, you go to Europe.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. All right. Well, enjoy the rest of the trip. We'll send you the video when it's ready, or let
Thank
you know
you.
when we're going to post it.
Yeah, I love that.
Appreciate
and
that.
if we have any follow-up questions, we'll reach out to you. And if there's anything you need from us, just let us know. All right.
For sure. Thanks, guys. We'll do. I appreciate it again. This was fun, and I'll talk to you later.
All right.
Yeah,
Pleasure
bye,
meeting you,
Nick.
man.
Peace.
Nice.
I wonder why. Do you think the camera just gets to a point where it's like, hey, I'm not going to keep
I think it's got a time limit. Yeah. I think it's got a time limit.
I feel